What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Alex here from Team Generations, back again with another deck profile. Today we're going to start off our clan selection lists with my personal favorite clan. This is Narukami, so we're starting off with Dragonic Kaiser Vermillion with the Blood. So super interesting card. We've never seen anything really like this before in Narukami. Any clan really in general, I don't think we've seen a real mechanic like this. So super excited to bring it to you guys. I think they did an awesome job with clan selection. We did a lot of testing on some of these decks, so I'm very excited to bring that to you guys. But without further ado, let's jump right into this one.
Alright, before we begin, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to all you guys. Thank you guys so much. We're at like 320 subs now. I really can't believe it. If you guys do learn anything during this profile, I ask that maybe you do possibly hit that subscribe button, maybe leave a like on the video. But without further ado, let's jump right in. So starting off with the 4 of the main boss unit himself, we're looking at 4 of Dragonic Kaiser Vermillion, the Blood. So new card out of the new set, the clan selection. Its skill, act on Vanguard Circle once per turn. We get to counterblast 1, put a card from our hand into our soul, and then until the end of the turn, this unit gets an additional 5,000 and an extra drive. And when it would attack, it battles all of your opponent's front row units. If you put Dragonic Kaiser Vermillion into your soul for this cost, this unit gets an additional 10,000 plus an extra crit, so that actually does stack on top of each other, so you get that 15 plus the crit plus the extra drive. Its second skill, act on Vanguard Circle. We get to soul blast 1 card with Kaiser in its card name, and then this unit gets an additional drive until the end of turn, and at the end of the turn, deal this unit 1 damage. So a lot to kind of unpack here. Like I said, those things do stack, so you're going to be looking at like a 27k attack if you put that Kaiser into your soul, which we really are looking to do every single time. Get that extra crit, so you inherently putting that extra pressure on. So very, very nice. You can close out games kind of sneakily on this if people let it through. You know, you have 4 drive checks, whatever the case may be, and boom, you hit them with like 3 crit. They just weren't expecting it, or whatever the case may be. So definitely like a high roll, high risk, high reward kind of card. It's not too hard at all to soul blast that card with Kaiser in its name. We're going to get to a couple cards later on in the profile that kind of put that into soul and just make that a whole lot easier. So just kind of, you know, at the end of your turn, you do deal yourself that damage, so be wary of that. It is possible you drive check a heal, because I am running heals in here, but at the end of the day, you know, if you know you're going to lose the game, you can go complete, you know, suicidal kind of attack. If you're trying to pace the game, maybe only soul blast 1 just to take that extra damage. So yeah, completely up to the player. I think this deck really comes down to a lot of the player's skills and comfortability with the deck. So yeah. Moving on next, I'm not really going to go over the skill just because we don't use this card. You do not want to be riding it. You don't want to put it on your rearguard circle. We need to run 4 of these guys. This is Dragonic Kaiser Vermillion. We're really using other cards to kind of slot this into soul. This card's been around forever, so if you're new to the game, you can definitely look this up. It's a very easy card. Even pause the video, give you kind of clear shot to read that right there. There we go. But not really using it for anything but the soul fodder, and we definitely need 4 of them to get that going. On my last grade 3, actually, I am running one of these guys. This is Black Arrow Dragon. So its skill, continuous on rearguard circle. During your turn, if it's on an additional rearguard circle, aka an Excel circle, this unit gets an additional 5,000. And then its second skill, continuous on rearguard circle. During the battle of attack, your opponent's auto abilities do not activate. So, like I said before, you can be drive checking quite a bit with Dragonic Kaiser, the Blood. Essentially, you know, if you get 4 off, you hit 2 triggers there, you know, 2 fronts, a crit, whatever the case may be, you can put it on him, and, you know, the Blood is like PG bait, so if they're holding that PG in their hand and they're thinking they're going to use it, you know, you pop this guy, the auto abilities do not activate, you cannot use PGs against him, gets that additional 5k, so it just helps a little bit more to hit those magic numbers. I think it's effective overall. It's not game breaking if you don't see it, but it is nice sometimes to try to close out with that or kind of threaten with it just to kind of make them use their PGs preemptively. So I like the card. I'm running it at just a 1 of as like a tech, really. I know some people kind of run it a little bit more. That's not incorrect, but I think when you see too many of them, it starts to get a little clunky. Moving on then into our grade 2 lineup. So we are running 4 of the new guy. This is Spark Arrow Dragon. His skill, act on rearguard circle. If you have a Vanguard with Kaiser in its card name, we get to soul blast 1, retire this unit, and search your deck for up to 1 card with Kaiser in its card name, ride it a stand, and shuffle your deck. And until the end of turn, when your opponent's rearguards would be retired, bind it instead of retiring it. This ability may only be used with the card with the same name once per turn. So this is really, really great. This is like the kind of the glue of the deck to kind of hold it together and make it really, really work. So what you want to kind of do with this card, let me just go over the demo really quickly. You want to actually manually ride into your Vermillion, right? And then you want to basically pop down a Spark Arrow Dragon. You will then use Spark Arrow's skill, Soul Blast 1, get this guy out from your deck, ride it on top, and you essentially get to use his skill to put another Kaiser that you could possibly have in your hand into your soul. So you can go for that double blast if you want. You can set yourself up nicely for next turn, completely up to you, but this card really facilitates all of that. So super, super awesome. Definitely a needed at 4 of kind of consistency piece. And again, the Kaisers actually battle your opponent's entire front row, and this guy allows you to bind them once they kind of get retired, so you can proc certain skills off. We are running something that kind of would proc mid-battle like that, which is pretty cool, so definitely nice to have that. A lot of people, you know, like Grand Blue, whatever the case may be, like, they want things in their drop zone, so to bind them out, nobody wants their cards bound, really, so really useful. Definitely a solid card overall. Sucks that it's not like a Vanguard skill really, but we have a couple of the cards in this deck to kind of mitigate that, which is one of these guys actually. This is Eradicator Plasma, how do you say this guy? Plasma Catapult Dragon, sorry. Its skill, act on Van or Rearguard Circle. Once per turn, we get to Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and choose one of your opponent's front row rearguards, bind it, and then our opponent chooses one of his or her back row rearguards and moves it to an open front row circle. And if this unit is on the Vanguard Circle, we get to draw a card, so really mainly using it for that draw consistency. Also, I find that, you know, if you're playing like Dark Irregulars, let's say, and they have like a Killer Tail and nothing else really on the field, you know, if you bound something, you can move, even if you didn't bind, you do as much as the skill as possible. So you would pay the cost for this, move that Killer Tail up, and then with another card, you would probably bind that Killer Tail. So really screws up their little countercharge engine there, but that's just one example. Like, if anybody's hiding anything, this guy actually says to move it to an open front row rearguard circle. It doesn't say like slide it up in the same column. So if your opponent has something, you know, in their one of their front row rearguard circles, you bind it. You then have to, if they have something behind their Vanguard, they have to move it up to a front row rearguard circle. So I don't think a lot of people realize that, but it is a very nice card for that ability. And plus, drawing that card on your Vanguard circle is just nice. It's kind of like, oh god, what was it? Berserker Dragon for Kagero. Got it a little late in the game, but still solid card overall. Not really used in too many other decks, but I think it found a place in here. Alright, moving into, not really the spicy yet, but there are some spicy cards in here that's coming up. We are running two of these guys. This is Martial Arts Dragon. So its skill, auto on Van or Rearguard Circle. When placed, we get to Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, choose one of our opponent's front row rearguards, and bind it. But its second skill is auto on Van or Rearguard Circle. When your other unit attack does not hit, this unit gets an additional 5,000 to the end of turn. So the biggest problem in this deck is your opponent hitting defensive triggers and you just not being able to get over them. This kind of helps mitigate that. It's not the absolute most necessary card in the world. You can bump this up if you want. You can, you know, cut it out. I wouldn't cut it out necessarily, but I find that it is effective. I think a 2 is kind of good for it. Like, you see it often enough, it does its thing often enough, and you have Excel circles for it. So if it's on an Excel circle and then, you know, your opponent blocks an attack, guards out, you know, your Vanguard attack, this guy automatically becomes like a 19k. Can go even further if you know, have other hits, other kind of attacks that do not hit throughout the turn. So I like it. Kind of helps solve that problem of, oh man, I can't hit my opponent's Vanguard. Another card that I'm running in here, which is, I guess, I'm not seeing too many other people running it, but I really like it. I think this deserves a spot in almost every Narukami deck, if not all of them in Standard at least, yeah. This is Fiendish Sword Eradicator Cho-Oh, so everybody kind of knows this card. Auto on Van or Rearguard Circle. When placed, we get to Counterblast 1, choose a column, bind one of your opponent's front row rearguards of that column, and move up to one back row rearguard in that column to the front row rearguard circle. Its second skill, Auto on Rearguard Circle. Once per turn, at the end of the battle that your Vanguard attacked, if your opponent's front row has no rearguards, Counterblast 1 and stand this unit. So not a lot of multi-attack in this deck. Cho-Oh kind of helps us solve that. You can poke with its first attack with the blood, and then, you know, get off a bunch of drive checks. You can stand a really powerful Cho-Oh again, and this can help us too with Martial Arts Dragon, because, you know, we're kind of baiting that first guard, like, hey, guard it so I can gain some power here. You know, you're doing that whole thing. So if this is on an additional rearguard circle, it hits for 14. We don't really use Excel 1 in this deck. Narukami definitely wants to use Excel 2. But overall, I like the multi-attacking power of this. I think this is solid just to bind. Yeah, solid card overall, and I think it definitely deserves a spot in the deck. A lot of people cut it out. It's not wrong if you don't want to do that, but completely up to you. Alright, and then the spicy last card for our grade 2 lineup. I said our problem in this deck is really having your opponent hit those defensive triggers. We can't get over it, and we're running this card to kind of mitigate some of that. We always kind of want to be hitting them, and this guy kind of helps us do that. So this is Dread Charge Dragon. Auto on Rearguard Circle. When placed, we get to Soul Blast 1, and this unit gets 15,000 until the end of turn. Auto on Rearguard Circle. At the end of your turn, we get to retire this unit. So we have to retire it, basically. It's kind of like a one-shot kind of thing. You Soul Blast 1, and this guy becomes a 24k beater on, not even on a Excel 2 circle. So very nice to be able to get over your opponent's defensive triggers it's kind of an odd card. Not a lot of people run it. I totally get why, but I find that to really put that pressure on, like if you hit 2 triggers, you know, let's say you hit a front and a crit, you put that on here, boom, looking at a 44k card off the bat as opposed to something that would have been, you know, maybe a 28 or a 34, something like that. So I think that this really helps us hit nice numbers. It's nice as like a one of tech. You don't want to run too many of these guys and rip through your soul. As you can see, we are running a lot of cards that actually do use our soul in this deck, and I'm running something to kind of mitigate that, as well as the blood, just putting a card into soul. But you don't really want to rely off of that guy's skill to do that, because you really want to be putting the Kaiser into soul and not soul blasting it for any other costs. But moving into our grade 1, as you can see over here, we are running 4 of the new card. This is Thunder Valet Dragon. Its skill auto on Van or Rearguard Circle. When placed, we look at 5 cards from the top of our deck, reveal up to 1 Dragonic Kaiser Vermillion or Spark Arrow Dragon from among them and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck, and if you put a card, discard a card from your hand. And its second skill, auto on Rearguard Circle. When your opponent's attack hits, this unit gets an additional 5,000 until the end of turn. So very nice overall. It becomes a better booster, and it's an auto skill, so nothing really to get that extra boost going on. The extra 5,000. Its first skill really helps with consistency. Like, we always want to see Dragonic Kaiser Vermillions in our hand just to put it into soul. So long as we see that and a Spark Arrow Dragon, like, we can just one of each of those can set us up really nicely for at least 2 grade 3 turns, maybe even just 1, you know, if you want to soul blast them all out and just go for game right then and there. But very nice card. I think it definitely is a 4 of in the deck, adding to your consistency and getting that little power boost. Moving on to our next grade 1, we are actually running 4 of this guy. This is Mighty Bolt Dragoon. So again, just kind of keeping along that consistency line. This is the grade 3 searcher for standard. Its skill on Rearguard Circle during our turn. If any player's card was bound this turn, it gets an additional 5,000. And then its second skill, Van or Rearguard Circle when placed from hand. It's the typical skill. You basically search the top 5, add a grade 3 to your hand, drop a card if you added one to hand, and then shuffle your deck. So really not too crazy overall. It gets that nice little boost. Very easy to get that bind off during our turn. And then on top of that, just adding that consistency, searching for those grade 3 pieces that you might need. So all of our grade 3s in this deck are good in hand. Like, you always want to see them. So yeah, I think running at this guy at a 4 of is definitely correct. Moving on, we see an oldie but goldie. We are running still 2 of these guys, Rising Phoenix. Its skill, auto on drop zone. When your opponent's rear guard is bound during your turn, you may call this card to rearguard circle. If you do, this unit gets an additional 3,000 until the end of turn. So very simple skill. It's been around since like the start of V. I like that they've actually made this a triple rare now. I have the congratulation ones too. So really nice foiling on all these clan selection ones actually. Triple rare is just kind of standing out. Maybe I just haven't seen fresh cards in a while or something, but I really like that. And we want to, like I said before with Choa, we don't have a lot of multi-attack in this deck. I know it's kind of awkward, but sometimes if you want to poke with one card, you know, your front row is filled, you poke with one card to start before your Vermillion. When your Vermillion attacks and use Spark Arrow for that turn, you're binding any card that you retire. So this guy is going to see a bind in the drop zone in the middle of your battle phase. It's not the most powerful thing to come out, and you're not going to see the trigger effects come off of it, but it does give you that option if you really want to. I really like these guys for like the discard cost, you know, because we have it for the Mighty Bolt Dragoon, we have it for the other grade 1 searcher. So I think that this card still kind of deserves a spot in the deck. You can cut this completely if you want to. It's not 100% necessary. You can really trim down the grade 1 lineup to be just raw 8. But I found in my games, I did like the extra shield a little bit, because we do draw, and through all of our drive checks and stuff, just having a little bit more shield in our hand does help us survive to later in the game. And I am running into not really a problem, but sometimes I wish like I just had a little bit more soul to blast. So I run 2 of this card. This is really strange. This is the spice in the deck. This is how do you say this? Dragon Dancer Regina. Yeah, Regina. Whoops. Its skill, act on rearguard circle. If there are 1 or less rearguards in your opponent's front row, put this unit into your soul, and 3 of your rearguards get 5,000 until the end of turn. So this solves 2 kind of problems for us. A, we can run out of soul pretty easy, because I think 3 of our grade 2s run Soul Blast in this deck. So that's a heavy cost, and I know Kaiser the Blood does put in a card into Soul, but like I said before, you want to be putting that the original Vermillion into your Soul so that it can Soul Blast that out. You don't want to be using that Vermillion for other costs really, so this kind of helps mitigate it. And on top of that, like, we need to hit people, and to do so, sometimes, you know, you buff up a unit in your front row, it's just like a raw 9k goes to a 19k, and then boom, your opponent hits a defensive trigger. You can't get over that. With this card, you gave it an additional 5, so now you can if they were on Force or Excel. So I do like this card. I know it's a little spicy. You definitely can cut this if you want to, maybe up the the Phoenixes if you want. Maybe just max out one more Martial Arts Dragon and one more of the Grade 2 Eradicator, the Counterblast Soul Blast one. But I like it. I find that it does work, and it's when it goes off, it feels good. It feels really good. It's not a win. It's a win more card. It's not a win condition. So yeah, moving into our trigger lineup then. Nothing too crazy. I think I've seen lists where people kind of run this. I am running 4 of the Sentinel crits. I'm running 6 crits total. I'm running 6 fronts and 4 heals. So I need to essentially get over my opponent's triggers, like I said. And to do so, I think fronts really help us out in this deck. I think that the crits are also kind of essential too, because you can steal games. Like, people sometimes take that Vermillion. If they know that you're running at all fronts, they won't really fear it. They're like, okay, I'll take this 2 crit, that's fine. Maybe I'll hit 2 defensive triggers, whatever the case may be. The fronts really help you push and get your whole field flowing. So I like that personally. I know that some people do run the draw sentinels here, but it feels really bad when you are drawing your triggers, and I really don't want to do that. I feel like we have enough draw power period between that Plasma Catapult Dragon. We have also the basically the Blood Bait just going off, doing a lot of drive checks. Like, if you do 4 drive checks, you're adding those to hand, so you are technically going through your deck, having some stuff in your hand. You don't necessarily need those draw triggers. I feel like it's more important to close out the games and really put on that pressure than it is to just draw and have those sentinels in hand. So yeah, all right, moving right along then. I'm going to do a test hand with this deck to show you guys how I envision it kind of playing out. I know this deck is spicy. Let me know your comments down below, your opinions. I'm definitely open to them. I know it's not super typical, but I'm trying it out. I like it. Again, none of these deck profiles are necessarily 1000% set in stone. They always kind of adapt with different metas. So yeah, well, let's hop right into that test hand and I'll show you. All right, let's get shuffling over here. Overall, this deck is like really fun. It's a different kind of play style. Definitely takes a little bit of time to getting used to. Very high roll. You can kill yourself with this deck because you do take that damage, or you can high roll to victory. So I think that's a pretty cool just mechanic overall. Like, it's not as high roll potential possibly as like Overlord the Cross, where it gets to restand 3 times, or Gavriel, play a little solitaire with yourself, hit 4 crits on your Hamiel. But overall, I think it's probably like a tier 2 version of that in a way. And if you're a real Narukami bro like I am, like, you'll play the shit out of this and just have a good time with it. So I really enjoy it. I think the cards aren't too expensive overall, and a very easy way to kind of get into standard for maybe somebody who hasn't before. So yeah, let's see. I really want to make sure I shuffle this. There we go. Pile. Okay. 2 more of the rainbow. All right, cool. Let us put that here. Is that in frame? Yep. All right, let's draw 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. No triggers there. All right, cool. So I'm actually going to put back, I think, just these 2. We don't need a front in our hand, obviously. Don't need Dread Charge quite yet. It's nice if we do see it, not necessary off the bat, but I do want to have that Spark Arrow just to kind of guarantee myself the Kaiser in Soul. So let's see, 1 more, and then I'll ride the Cho if need be. 1 and 2. All right, cool. So I have a solid hand overall. We got some searching power with these 2, so we'll probably find our Grade 3 Vanguard, fingers crossed. So let's see. Let's get going here. Shuffle back up. All right. And as all of our test hands go, we're going to pretend we go first just for simplicity's sake. So we draw. All right, cool. Who do I want to go first? Search power with him. Oh yeah, whoops, I totally thought this was Mighty Bolt for a second. I didn't mean to say search power before off that. But with this guy, we are going to draw for turn, draw off the ride, and then we're going to look at top 5. 1, 2, 3, whoops, 4, and 5. Let's see, do we get, we do get a Grade 3. We get the Kaiser Vermillion. That's actually a good one that we need because we can't get the other one off of this. So we'll see. Let's see if we get the other guy. If not, no big deal, because we actually do have that Spark Dragon, Spark Raised Dragon, I think it's called. So we set ourselves up nicely for our Grade 3 turn, which is like a really cool part of this deck, because you do actually want to have this in hand and manually ride to get the full chain off and get 2 Excel markers on that turn. All right, what else? I got to ditch a card now. This is where the Phoenix really comes in handy, honestly. Do I want to do anything else? Do I want another Spark Raise? Nah, I think I'm just going to keep it as is, pass it over to my opponent, take a damage for their turn, boom, crit, shuts off any of their damage. Is that in frame? Yeah, it's in frame enough. All right, cool. Got 1 damage, my turn, stand and draw. Got 2 of them, nice. All right, so let's see, what do I want to ride? I actually want to ride him now. So I'm going to ride him, and I'm going to use its skill. I'm not going to do anything else first. Nah, I think I'm good as is. Let's use its skill. We're going to Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1 as well. And then I'm going to bind a card on their thing. Let's say they did call something out. I'm going to call out a Rising Phoenix off of that just to get a little more pressure. Going to swing with the Rising... Oh, I'm sorry, I should have drew a card too off of his skill. All right, perfect. Drew a heal. That's exactly what we want to see. All right, we're going to swing over at him. This is 11k because he got the additional 3. And we're going to swing now. This is 9k. Let's see if we hit a trigger. Boom. No trigger, but we did get the blood. Cool, cool, cool. Not too bad, so we can manually ride him if need be, but we're going to pass it over to our opponent. Take 2 damage. 1. Oh no, the Dread Charge. 2. All right. Going to stand and draw. Alright, now cool. This is our grade 3 turn. This is where we come to life. So I'm going to ride onto the regular Vermillion, actually, and we are then going to get an Excel 2. I'm going to pretend Naoki is an Excel 2 marker. Everyone knows, best character. Alright, so I drew the Rai. Pretty cool, pretty cool. I'm now going to pop down the Spark Raised Dragon. Alright. Going to Soul Blast one. I'm going to Soul Blast out him. Alright, cool. And then I'm going to retire this unit. I'm going to search my deck for a Dragonic card with Kaiser in its name, right? Yeah. I'm going to search for the main Kaiser. Alright, cool. So I got 1 in Soul, and I can put another into my hand on his skill if I really want to. I might do that to set me up for the next turn. I don't know if I want to Soul Blast both out this turn, but let's just say for argument's sake that... yeah, you know what, let's just do it. I'm probably just going to do one thing with this and just show you kind of like max power. Alright, so we get that second Excel marker off of him. We draw. Alright, so our hand size is looking pretty decent so far. Let's call down Homeboy, Mr. Cho-Oh. What else? We don't have a Martial Arts Dragon here. It's no big deal. Let's call down, let's make this turn impactful. Yeah, let's put Counterblast 1, put a card from our hand into our soul. Let's put, where is it? There we go, him into our soul then. So now we got 2. Now we can do our double Soul Blast. And this guy also gets an additional 15k, a crit, and an extra drive. And you know what? I'm going to do it. Let's Soul Blast twice. 1 and 2. And then, boom, we get an extra 2 drives, and I have to take 2 damage. So see if we hit a heal trigger and heal out. I know I got 2 of them in my my hand, but maybe we can hit that. I'm also going to drop down, have a lot of grade 3s. Not the best in the world, but let's actually call him down. Let's call my Rai down, and I'm going to use its skill, put this unit into our soul. Let's assume there's just nothing on their side of the field. If there was, I would have, done Cho-Oh's thing for that. Yeah, I'll give, 5 here, and I will give 5. 3 of my units, right? 3 of my rear guard. Sorry, yep, I knew it. I was like, I can't give that to my Vanguard, right? Cool, so let's do the Thunder one. Keep that with that. The Narukami dice. Cool, so this guy then becomes a 13. He then becomes an 18. He becomes, right now it's a, what is that? That is 5, 13, 13, 18. He could potentially become a 23 if my Vanguard attack does hit, so that is quite possible. The nice thing about making Cho-Oh an 18 also is that when it swings at your opponent's Vanguard, let's say they're Force, it's no longer just a 5k to guard, so they can't just guard out that first attack. They have to basically drop a little bit more, so it makes you a little bit more likely to let them hit with Cho-Oh. So yeah, let's swing with Kaiser now. So there's 2 crit, 27k. Let's see, 1 front, awesome. That's 1 right there. 2, wow, critical. Okay, let's say they PG'd this. I'm actually gonna put that on Cho-Oh then. Yeah, give them the crit, the extra 10k. There we go. Oh my god, you guys are watching me. I'm not stacking this deck, I swear to god. Let's do, you know what, let's spread the love a little. Let's give the crit here, and we'll do the power. Actually, no, everything there. We're going, for the house. And then 4. All right, we had to not get at least 1. All right, cool. So now with the front, this guy, let's pretend it didn't hit. So this is 18, this is now 28. This guy is now, what is that? That is 8, 5, right? 13. Yeah, this is 23. And now Cho-Oh got 20, plus another 10 off of these 2, right? Yeah, plus another 10. So it's 30, 40, and this is 49. We did the counterblast, restand it, and then, whoops, I forgot to do that when the Vanguard attacked, but 49 to crit. I mean, if we were going first like in this game and they had to guard that out, unless they had a really fat hand, I mean, that's going to be a hard really hard thing to guard, and sometimes at that point of the game too, that your opponent will just let you do that. Like they're like, okay, I'll take it. Like that was a rare occurrence where you get a lot of triggers, but the high roll definitely is possible in this deck. I think this deck is really, really awesome, really fun. Let's just damage ourselves, see what I got. So an extra 2. So we didn't get any triggers there. So we're in a really precarious spot for the rest of the game, really. But we had a couple Sentinels in hand. We have good triggers in our hand. Like I definitely think we would have lived another turn. Can't really take anything, but not the worst overall. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you did learn anything during this video, I ask again that maybe you do consider hitting that subscribe button. Leave any comments below. Let me know what you agree with, what you don't agree with, any recommendations that you have, politely if you would. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So again, thank you guys. This is Alex from Team Generations signing out.